The Confession, Science Fiction Stimulus Number 1. It all began in England a week ago, on December 11th, 2 weeks before Christmas. The heat of the setting sun permeated from the modulatable tinted windows, set to 60% opacity in my 100th floor office. On the top right corner of my desk lay the pride of my being, Joshua Manaya, co-director of Takeda Industries. All my life I had slaved away in this establishment, like a loyal dog to its master, for this one day. I thought to myself, today is the day my plan will finally be fulfilled. As I exited my newly appointed office, I handed a stack of microchips to my Android assistant and headed towards the newly installed interfloor warp system, which beamed me directly to the south exit of headquarters. Immediately, the searing heat that emanated from the sun struck my white office shirt as I hustled towards 456 Overa Drive, just a few hundred meters away. Even this seemingly easy walk on the streets of Taraka, under the minimal shade the hovercars provided, transformed my white shirt translucent with sweat. The moment of truth, I thought to myself as I revealed my emerald green eyes and embedded microchip to the sensor. With a low buzz, the vaulted door detached from its magnetic seal, releasing a wave of cool air from the house. Entering, I encountered everything as I had expected. The caboose lay in the back room, the original time-space combobulator, TSC. My heart throbbed violently as I ventured closer to the machine, tapping my way through the security barriers until I reached the final glass door that I had yet to ever open. Touching the metallic surface of the caboose sent chills down my spine as I ignited the time crystal. The TSC was sent into a high rumble, its pistons chugged gears in conjunction with intermittent releases of steam. Set date, location, commence warp. In a heartbeat, a blinding flash of light filled the cabin. The time panel dated itself, December 11th, 2120. An elated smile filled my face, for I knew the operation had been a success, and the machine had indeed had its time-space retention limiter disabled, allowing me to bypass the time restriction of staying in the past for solely a minute. The refreshing smell of pine and roast chicken greeted me as I emerged on the side of the grand estate. I unwittingly entered 2120 ill-prepared for the cold climate known as winter, a coldness I had never experienced outside of ice rinks. I contemplated the sheer normality of the cold rain that glistened on the lush green leaves, inviting me to appreciate the simplicity of life that would disappear by the time I was born, due to that infernal machine. Droplets of sweat dripped off the brown creases of my hair onto the windowsill as I entered the garage through an open window. Shivering, I peered into Sir John's private study through a pane of glass from the vantage point of a stepping stool. Sir John Takeda was sat contentedly at his desk, caressing his blue ballpoint pen over the A4 pages before him, lining its white surface with equations, formulas, and words. Suddenly, throwing his pen aside, he looked up towards the caboose that stood in his room. A white grin illuminated Sir John's face as he knocked over his LED desk lamp in a flurry of movement. He got up and ran across the room, carrying petri dishes, compartments, and the infamous time crystal. I was about to experience firsthand what my years of schooling and watching movies portrayed, seeing the invention that would change the world. The sight of the ghastly crystal churned my insides as I recalled the damage the Martian wrought did in the timeshift era. The revolutionary effects of his invention soon became recognized by consumers, as thousands of Takeda-branded time machines were sold across the globe, becoming the status symbol of the rich and wealthy. However, as people began using these instruments as part of everyday life, like stopping milk from spilling, stresses on the Earth soon became very visible. The Earth's internal core temperature cooled, and the Earth's rotation subsequently slowed, heating the planet drastically, replacing Europe's winters with summery days and its summers with extraordinarily scorching days, forcing its citizens to use the grim underground passageways for their daily commutes. Society was in desperation. I took it upon myself to change it all. My knees quivered, my hands shook, as my arms struggled to hold the ultrasonic wave emitter steadily against the concrete wall. I looked over into the glass pane. Sir John looked so excited. Watching his glee filled me with guilt. However, I told myself that I must continue for the sake of humanity. I closed my eyes, feeling the muscles in my fingers contract against the trigger. My arm jerked back as the wave penetrated through the wall to explode Sir John's brain. My heart jumped into my throat as I rushed into the room. Sir John's blank stare struck my soul with guilt as I carted the piles of papers into the crackling fireplace. Walking up to the caboose, I tossed a vial of steel-eating microbes against its metallic surface. I knew my job was done. However, the stillness of the room was broken with a sudden flash of light. Four men garbed in long green vestments that hung loosely off their chests and bound at their waists appeared. However, before I could even formulate my thoughts, the officers pulled their fist back and thrusted it forward in one swift motion, sending a whirlwind of ultrasonic waves which struck me to the ground. The last thing I remembered was the slew of words that warranted my arrest. Joshua Manaya, you are under arrest by the International Space-Time Corps officers for breaching. I blacked out. A jolt of electricity forced me back into consciousness. What just happened? I thought to myself. Had I really failed to remove any traces of the TSC? If I had, the cops would have been unable to find me. However, it all became clear when I read the magazine titled 60th Anniversary of the Invention of the Interspace Time by Madame Jasmine Orley. Sitting in my cell for the past week had brought me to understand the irony of my decision of trying to change the past. I broke into tears knowing that I had sacrificed everything engaging in the very thing that destroyed the world. Yet nothing changed. What will my kids think of me when they grow up? Their answer? A stupid man whose ideals of change resulted in nothing but shame, when he could have just as easily changed the way people acted by setting an example. I could not change the past by killing one man, when someone else could just replicate the same technology years later, without the understanding that what they would invent would negatively change the world forever. George stared out of the cell window. The glint of his green eyes intently observed the city below. He knew that it was all over. The officer in green vestments stopped the recording and exited the cell. The end.